Welcome to Resiliency Webchats, conversations with individuals in the UMD community about moments in their lives that required resilience. Together, we learn about the strategies they use to stay strong and move forward in challenging times. I'm Dr. Lisa Erwin, and today I'm talking with Alta Oben. Welcome, Alta.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's a thrill to be here. I'm a little intimidated by the doctor titles on some of your other participants in this, but I'm glad to join you for this.
Well, it's just a privilege to have this opportunity to talk with you. I've admired you from the very moment I met you, and I've had lots of opportunities, fortunately, to get to know you. You've had an amazing life, an amazing career, and I want to start by saying that you've really been selfless in your service to your alma mater, and we are grateful for that and so lucky that you're with us today. So we're going to get started with some questions for folks to get to know you better. Okay. So let's start with, what are your connections to UMD, starting with your time as a student and through the present?
Sure. Well, I graduated from UMD in 1969 with a BA in political science with minors in French and English. While at UMD, I was a fairly active student. I was editor of the yearbook, the Chronicle, that we had back in the late 60s and early 70s. I was elected secretary of the Student Association when I was a senior. I was a member of the social sorority called Gamma Omicron Beta, again, a thing of the past, but we are still active somewhat. And I was in a number of honorary academic groups. As a senior, I was also one of the 5 recipients of the prestigious Sieur Duluth Award. Today, I'm currently on the Chancellor's Advisory Council. I've also served on the College of Liberal Arts Dean's Advisory Council. And today I am a donor for several UMD scholarships, particularly in what used to be the College of Liberal Arts, now known as the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences.
So that's fantastic, Alta. I don't know if you know this, but annually I get to award the Sieur Duluth.
Oh,
so
no.
I loved knowing that you received it. That just brings a little bit more meaning to the award for me. Congratulations. It's a very prestigious award.
Well, really actually, I have it here on my desk.
Oh,
would you like to see it?
I would love to see it.
Let me bring it out. And here is my Sieur Duluth Award. And I keep it on my desk.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So after UMD, again, you had a remarkable career. Could you share a little bit with us about where your career took you?
Right. Well, what I wanted to share was, first, in the late 1960s, various recruiters came to UMD to interview potential employees. Today, it may be done over the internet, but back then, it was different. And my plans, even from high school on, were to go into the Foreign Service. I had been selected as an exchange student, and they didn't find a home for me when I was a junior in high school. So that triggered it. As it happened, CIA had an active recruiter in the Twin Cities, and he came up to UMD once a year. And I decided to have what I considered then a practice interview. I wasn't thinking of the CIA. But I was kind of intrigued by what the recruiter had to say. So I followed up by filling out the enormous application. And it took months, several months, in fact, beyond my graduation from UMD, before the process was complete. The Foreign Service, as it happened, didn't offer their exam that year, so I couldn't apply to the Foreign Service. So then as a backup, I took the Civil Service exam. That's not something the CIA or the Foreign Service use, but there are opportunities for government service through that. As it happened, the CIA eventually asked me to fly out to Washington, D.C. for tests, including the dreaded polygraph that everybody loves so much, and interviews. Concurrently, I actually got an actual job offer from the Navy. That was based on my high score in the Civil Service exam. I wasn't ready to accept the Navy job without meeting the people involved in where I would be working. And since the CIA was paying for my trip out to DC, I said, how about if I meet with you both? And I did that. And the reason I share this part of the story is it's crucial to a decision I made to turn down the CIA and accept the Navy job. During my discussion with one of the interviewers at a CIA joint facility with DIA, and I can't tell you which this fellow worked for, to be honest, I was asked whether I was married or single. Kind of threw me back. When I responded I was single, this former Air Force officer replied something to the effect that that was too bad because they found married women were more stable. Well, that one didn't go over real well with Alta. So you may wonder how I ended up at CIA after having been told that kind of thing. Well, after my friends wined and dined me here in Minnesota for a couple of weeks before I was to drive east to take the Navy job, just a couple days before, the Navy called me. Their funds had been frozen. They could no longer hire me. I had turned down the CIA. So I swallowed my pride and got on the phone and called the CIA. And after a few moments checking on who this was, they said, sure. And so basically the rest is history. My friends were confused, but I went to work for CIA and not the Navy. Mm-hmm.
So my next question is really about your life's work. I think while you were employed, but also in your retirement, because you're one of the most actively retired people I know, and you have faced some challenges along the way. Could you share a little bit about the major challenges you faced and what resilient strategies you used to help you address them?
Absolutely. Well, there were some serious career challenges as I worked for the CIA. I have to say, however, as a government employee, I believe women were and are treated more fairly under the law than they are in private industry. I found this out later in my career when I did work for a private company that did contract work for the CIA. Doing my homework in any situation is one lesson I learned early in life, and I'll tell you how early. In fact, I have to credit an experience in the 3rd grade, if you can believe that. It was setting me straight on the importance of being prepared. My memory may not be totally accurate on this many years later, but here's the story. I once had to get up in the 3rd grade in front of all my schoolmates of grade school and give some list of 10 safety instructions of some sort from memory. A 3rd grader. I guess I wasn't quite as prepared as I should have been, and I believe I left the stage, possibly in tears. I don't really remember because I didn't remember them all. And since then, my motto is always do your homework. Now, regarding the challenge as a CIA employee, there was a big one when I became what's called an all-source military analyst. I'd never been in the military, never had any interest in enlisting in the military, but my training my first year at CIA was as what's called an imagery analyst. I looked at satellite photography. And in my first week on the job, I showed a knack for identifying military equipment on satellite photography. I was offered an immediate job change. And quite frankly, there weren't many women doing that. So then I received 3 months of specialized training. And this Midwest gal got sent in January 1970 to Omaha, Nebraska to get that 3 months of training. Not every assignment at CIA takes you to Paris in the springtime. I learned that first month in my career. So that was a bit of a challenge to go back to the cold of the Midwest. But there were some advantages. There was no homework, actually, because you work in a classified environment, you go to class, you come home, you didn't have to do homework. So that was nice. But my heart was never in being a military expert. So I recommend that no one goes into a field that doesn't feed some interest you have. Preferably, everybody should go for the career which really works, that lights a passion in you. That's not always in the cards at every turn. We're all finding that out, but hopefully somewhere you eventually get there. So what made me stay 12 years as a military analyst, you may wonder? Well, there were some good things. When I got the chance to move from being an imagery analyst to an all-source military analyst, my first assignment was in a division doing current intelligence on military topics. The analysts there were like newspaper reporters on the Washington Post. They had a certain beat. They followed a country or countries. Hey, I could do that. And I had a passion for writing. I was not on the Statesman at UMD, now the Bark, but I was supposed to be actually, when I was a senior, a managing editor on there, but I never did do that. But journalism is kind of in my blood with the Chronicle and everything. And so I had a passion for writing for the daily publications, including the Presidential Daily Brief. And we know some presidents don't care to be briefed daily. We won't say who. But all good things do come to an end. The men in charge of the military analysts in the office that I worked in felt that you should rotate between divisions and do longer term research. There you expect to spend a year or maybe even 2 writing longer assessments on a particular military problem. That was something I couldn't bear thinking of doing day after day that long. So what did I do? Well, about that same time in the early 1980s, I got interested in personal computers. And I joined a computer user group. We taught each other so many things. I even learned to build my own computer from that group. And we frequently had speakers like Bill Gates. He wanted to come see us. We didn't have to beg him to see. He wanted to share his wisdom with us. And we had a lot of fun and learned a lot of things. So I then added to my computer knowledge by taking a couple of programming courses at a local community college. In fact, it's a different campus with the same system that Jill Biden teaches at. So our First Lady and I have a little bit in common there, connection with that school. And I did find a passion, and that was in computer technology. So with my security clearances stamped on my forehead, I started talking, to companies who did computer-related contract work in the intelligence community. My security clearances were worth money. So I easily got offers from companies like GE, TRW, and a small startup called Quality Systems Incorporated, or QSI. To those folks who've ever worked in the government, QSI is an easy to remember acronym because it stands also for Quality Step Increase, a reward you sometimes get for extra good work as a government employee. More pay. Well, another thing, few women of my generation had mentors to give them a clue about such things as salary negotiation, how to ask for a raise, and certainly not how to demand your rights under pay equity laws. So in private industry, salary information is more closely held than in the government, where your grade level and its pay are easily known, published in the newspaper, available for everybody. Well, in my new company, we had pay levels as well, until I was put in a role where I made salary recommendations for other people. I had an idea of the matchup between the levels and the pay range. I hadn't seen that. But turns out when I got my first level promotion from a 7 to an 8, the salary I received wasn't even within the bottom part of the level 8. Yeah, I was not too thrilled. So I raised my concern in my next performance review, but I had no idea what I could do when my reviewer did nothing to rectify that situation. So what did I do? I decided I would decline further management roles. I saw little or no incentive to take on more work, to have the frustrating situations that can arise between manager and supervised employees, and not be paid equitably with my male counterparts. So whenever possible, I encourage young people, women in particular, to take some training in salary negotiation and research their own value based on their skills and experience. In fact, as a member of the American Association of University Women, AAUW, I've been very active in promoting participation in our free, got that word, FREE, online salary negotiation workshop, and anybody can check it out at aauw.org. And I have to say that although I wasn't paid the same as some of my male colleagues, I did earn a very good living as a contractor. But I also had learned from my mother to be frugal. I made sure not to spend any of the retirement money I got back when I left the CIA to become a contractor. I invested it all. When I bought a house, I bought one costing less than I could afford. And lucky me, at least as a single woman, I somehow wasn't denied credit in my own name as many married women were back then. As a homeowner, I became what I referred to as a Renaissance woman. I took several adult education classes in the trades, if you will, carpentry, plumbing, and even a 150-hour electrical wiring course. I could do it all in my little house. Actually, then another learning experience from back in the third grade probably was responsible for my actions as an adult when it came to money and saving. I had my first job selling lunch tickets in the third grade, and I bought a pretty nice bicycle for myself, mostly from the savings I had from my 35 cents a day salary. Today in retirement, I'm focusing on applying a socially responsible philosophy to how my money is invested. My advisors make sure to find funds investing in firms taking care to be diverse and inclusive, again, especially where women are concerned. No matter the race, I want women to have an equal opportunity. I've also decided in recent years not to wait to leave my estate to my favorite causes when I'm no longer here to see the impact. So I'm giving away as much as possible while I'm still alive, still being able to pay my rent and such, but it's giving me real joy. It makes a difference. And that's kind of the story between the career and even a bit in retirement.
Did you ever make it to Paris?
Yes, I did, actually. Yes, at that's CIA's expense. And I got to spend a few days there, even though the reason I was there took maybe 3 hours total. And I got a trip to Paris. Yes,
that's
indeed.
Awesome. That's good. It's good to hear that. So my final question is just to offer you the opportunity to share your thoughts for a minute about the advice you have for others. Anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, yes, I prepared a little bit for this one too. What I call my lofty advice for facing challenges. And I'm still working on this one because it's tough. And I'm saying maybe old cats, because I'm a cat person, can learn new tricks. And I'm sure you've heard the expression, patience is a virtue. Well, quite often, patience is really essential in dealing with difficulties and difficult people. And I know I can appear to be one of those difficult people when others have to deal with my questions of them and their behavior. And I know I'm often too exacting in my expectations of other people. But I have found recently that even though I may have been the one required to keep secrets in my career, now I'm Miss Transparency in my dealings compared to the management at my senior residence. I can't believe it. I write emails with suggestions or requests for the general good of my neighbors. And I have to deal with too many women managers. Get this, women, yes. I am shocked. Who don't want a written record of their response, want to discuss some issue on the phone, or even propose meeting in private with me to explain their rationale for not, what I say, putting residents first. Who would have thought it would come to this? But I'm trying to be patient, but persistent, because Alta is persistent in trying to move these managers to see the better path. Wish me luck in being patient enough, because I really do find it to be a challenge.
That's a great answer. So, Alta, I've taken a few notes along the way, and I want to just reflect back what I've heard today in a sort of a summary fashion. It's really been great. So you talked about patience and perseverance in the end, and I think you've certainly exhibited that throughout your career. Here's what else I also picked up on. Being prepared is huge. And that really helped you when times got tough, because you had that confidence that you had the background to be able to move forward. So I think that's a great piece of resilience advice, is to be as prepared as you can be. I was just enchanted by your interest in new things. And I think you have demonstrated a sort of an entrepreneurial spirit in that when you learned something new, it really energized you. It has to do with that finding your passion piece that you talked about earlier. You got interested in computers, you studied them. You got interested in how to repair and do things in your home. You did it. That's wonderful. And I think there's really something there for resilience. Lighting the flame when you've identified a new passion can really build your ability to take on new challenges. So I thought that was excellent. The other thing I wanted to note, and we've heard this theme in other interviews, mentoring is really important. And you shared that you didn't have that advantage. But what you've done is to pay it forward. You are doing that now. So while you didn't get to experience it yourself, you're clearly mentoring others through AAUW and through other areas of your life. And I think that's a great resilience lesson. Find a mentor, find someone that you could trust. And so those are all great strategies that I hope our viewers will take advantage of.
Well, I want to say with UMD, actually, with the scholarship that I have in my name in the political science department, I've tried to encourage each of the recipients to maintain a connection with me. And as it happens, I currently have a connection with 2 of the last 3 scholarship winners. And one of them we Zoom every week. And today I had lunch, in fact, with both of them, because they were in town here as it happened. And then we actually invited another, not recipient of my scholarship, but a young woman who is on the mock trial team in the political science department, who I had also gotten to know last year. She's kind of joining the group as well. So we're expanding our network, and I learn from them as much as they learn from me. So it is well worth doing. And I would encourage anyone who is doing a scholarship or something with UMD to do something similar.
And I would encourage scholarship recipients to reach out and take advantage of when those opportunities are offered.
Yes.
Because I agree with you. I think those relationships are maybe more beneficial for me in some ways when I'm mentoring someone than actually they might experience. So, well, Alta, it's just been a joy today. I'm so grateful that you took the time. You did just a wonderful job getting ready for the interview, true to your way of being. And I think our folks who get to view this are going to enjoy it very much and learn a lot. So thank you, and take good care.
Well, thank you. It was a privilege.